One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. To let me be free.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges. A host with a fire burning in his soul. With a heart, steel, and a spirit unbroken. He rides on to his ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar, insane wheels rise as a force to be reckoned with. Fueled by the power that only metal can bestow. He takes his stand, refusing to submit. Insane wheels hears battle cry. Metal and mayhem will never die. Originals report he paves his way. More legend in the making, day by day.
Happy freaking Friday, man. Hopefully everyone's enjoying their Friday morning, evening, afternoon, wherever the hell you guys are from. Much love, honor, respect to everybody, man. So, we have a definite interesting morning for you guys. As you guys see in the title here, we're not going to be presenting everything that's in the title, kind of similar like yesterday, but these are the things that are going to be happening today, and then, of course, we're going to be leading you guys up into current time right now, since we last spoke, which was actually well, I guess it was the morning. So anyways, nonetheless, we're going to show you guys all the crazy shit that's happened within the last 24 hours for damn sure. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to read out what the title is today, which is Trump to sign executive orders and make an announcement. I guess there is another announcement happening today, as well as DC sues Trump, and we have some trade deals that were signed. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that, at least in the next couple of days. I have a couple of things on this that are a little separate, but nonetheless, let me go ahead and tell you guys the story lineup in this morning. DC sues Trump administration over deployment of National Guard. Of course, we're covering that whole ordeal. Then there's at least 16 now dead in Portugal's streetcar crash. I believe the first number was 14 or 15, or I can't remember if it was 16 then. But nonetheless, they have a small segment of an update. So we're going to go into that nonetheless. Then we also have, I guess, Alligator Alcatraz is, I guess, blocked by some, I don't know if it's a judge or something like that. Closure reversed on appeal. It is closed by a judge or something like that. So nonetheless, closure reversed on appeal. And then we're going to be going into terrorist cartels, you know, kind of what we were just talking about yesterday regarding the Venezuela ordeal and the drug boat and all that stuff. Nonetheless, terrorist cartels, quote, well, U.S. targets South American gangs. Then we're going to be talking a little bit more about Iran, and we were talking a little bit about their uranium enrichment and what they were doing leading up to that 12-day war. Now, we actually have an update on that whole thing, so we're going to be showing that today as well. Chicago ICE, I guess, bus expected ahead of Mexican Independence Day celebrations. That's not surprising at all. And then how to prevent mass violence in the wake of Minnesota school shooting. And then last but not least, hence why I actually have the poll right now for you guys to answer. DOJ exploring ways to prohibit transgender Americans from gun ownership. So please let me know in the poll in the chat if you guys are here live. Make sure you guys, you know, I bear the question. And I said, should trans people be allowed to own firearms? Yes or no? So you guys let me know. Nonetheless, let's go ahead and do our little, well, before we do call to actions, I have a couple of shout outs I got to do. We got Carney's Ride that gifted out a membership right before we even started, an hour before we started. So I really got to thank him for showing some love like that, man. Thank you so much for that. We have Brother Slim as well coming in for 11 fucking months as a member, bro. Only one more month for a year. Well over 300 episodes watched. Shit. Bro, that's fucking awesome. I'm sincerely honored by that, Brother Slim. So thank you very much for your contribution and help towards the channel like that. Like, I mean, it goes a long freaking way and people don't even understand to the extent. All right, nonetheless, before we get into all of it, make sure you guys come in and hit that like button. It's the #1 metric of all of YouTube, and it's free to do so. You know what else is free? Is hitting that subscribe button if you're brand new here. Please consider, though, becoming a member starting only at $2.99 a month, making sure we're not breaking the bank out there with anybody, but this is how we are self-sufficient, and we stay afloat doing what we do, man. So thank you guys very much to the membership, and staying members as well is a huge, huge thing, man. A little side note, follow my Instagram right here at BallValveTV, where I post everything behind the scenes of not only my life, but as well as Millennial Food Time, the show, just all of it, man. Make sure you guys, I continue to break news over there as well. It's a great way to get a hold of me one-on-one. We also have the Discord server for all of you guys in the Insane Wheels family. Make sure you guys join up on that. It's in the description box of every single video, so make sure you guys click that link. Last but not least, every super chat, super sticker, gift, and membership signups, all of these things are going to be presented live onto the show. But if you guys would like to skip that YouTube 30% brutal cut that they take from your hard-earned cash, we have these platforms right here that you guys can donate to. And of course, I will shout it out, and we'll definitely, well, as we were saying it, we got one, man. I can't thank you enough. Oh, man, we got my brother Fester coming in saying, for fucking Friday vibes, bro. $10, man, on the Cash App. Bro, thank you so much for that. And yeah, so like I said, I have the email up. If anything comes through, I will definitely read it. Wait, did you accidentally send that twice? Hold on. If you did, I'll send you back one. Oh, I see what happened there. Okay, you didn't. That's good. All right, thank you so much, Brother Fester, for that, bro. That goes a long way, man. Thank you so much. All right, we got KP up in the building. We got Gary as well, man. Good morning to you guys. We got Rabbit of Chaos as well as Frank. Dark Horse, Roll Tide, baby. Good to see you, my man. Another Alabama's finest. We got Prez as well as Charles. Good morning from down under. It is Saturday morning for you, 1 a.m., something like that. But yes, it is Saturday. You're going to have to deal with us over here, these normal people. It's Friday, you know what I mean? Miss Lotus, good morning to you over there in Florida. Great to see you, by the way. Rabbit of Chaos, always appreciate you. We got Get Some Jay. Hit the like, subscribe. We should always be 100% on likes. I agree with that. I actually agree with that. We got Motobomb over there in Virginia, my man. Good morning to you. Hopefully you're enjoying your morning as well. Let's see here. We're scrolling down. We got brother Mr. My man. Good morning, kind sir. Great to see you. We got Path Killer. Maybe Trump announces the deschedule of marijuana. Who am I? I really hope that does happen. Whatever happens, nonetheless, needs to be decriminalized and brought down to like a Schedule 3. If we have to break it down from, doing it, so you can't always do an entire leap and make something completely legal. Sometimes you have to do things in a gradual step. And you kind of do that by setting yourself up with Schedule 3, and then it goes all legal or whatever the case is, right? So, but I know that you get that. We got Family Life. That's just Fester, by the way, saying good morning, BV and Breakfast Club. Been away for a while and good to be back. Great to see you, bro. Thank you so much again. Brother Gorilla Biscuits coming in with the 2 gifted memberships, making that shit fucking rain like for real, bro. Thank you so much for that, man. God bless my man, for damn sure. We got brother Dean Savage over there in Israel, man. Good morning to you, kind sir. Good to see you. Let's see who else we got in here. Get a Rumble channel. Pays better. Yes, I'm sure it does pay better. You have less of a chunk that they take from you, but you also don't get the discoverability that you do on YouTube. And I can guarantee you, right now, for instance, I have 29 people on YouTube right now. If I switched all my shit over and only streamed over to Rumble or whatever the case is, I can guarantee you that, or if I told everyone to sign up there, I can guarantee you that out of the 29 people that are here right now, I may have 7. You know what I mean? 7 of you guys may come on over, but That's the problem. We got Grid One Motorsports saying, I will be listening, my friend. Good morning to you, as well as Marilyn. Good morning to you guys. Hopefully you're enjoying your morning. We got Mount High as well, man. Good morning. And yes, we got our left-handed tobacco ready to go on deck. You know the deal. We got brother Beezer Geezer, old Beezer Geezer, dude. Hopefully you're enjoying the morning, saying on the road. So, hey, man, I get you. Drive safe out there. All right, we're catching up. And we got Tiffany as well. Good morning as well. Good morning, good morning. We run 5 channels at once. Easy to do. Oh, yeah. I mean, I understand that. Like, I'm streaming right now to 3 channels. So I know what you're getting at. We got Papa Penguin. Good morning to you, kind sir. Good morning, good morning. All right. Thank God it's Friday, right, everybody? All right, let's go ahead and move into D.C., I guess, is going to be trying to sue Trump administration. Very fucking interesting over the deployment of the National Guard. Real quick, holy fuck, dude. We got Code TV dropping a big 5-bomb. Yo!
Oh shit!
My man, thank you so much for making it rain like a motherfucker for real, man. Thank you very much for that. It goes a long way. And not only helping me, but you're helping 5 others in the Breakfast Club, man. So I can't thank you enough for that. Chatting with Stacks. Good morning, kind sir. By the way, the series has officially finished. I guess the 5-part interview between me and Stacks. Make sure you guys go over to Stacks' channel. I have it also on my community tab on YouTube. You guys, you can see where I've been posting all the videos. So make sure you guys go check out those interviews. It was a fantastic conversation, and he did a really good job of capturing what I was talking about. Whatever I was talking about, he had pictures. He showed different videos to give you guys context. I think he did a fantastic job. So big W's, man. Brother Code, again, I can't thank you enough, and God bless you for the 5, man. I really appreciate that. All right, let's go ahead and pretty much get into the deal, dudes. I'm sorry for the delay there.
And welcome back to Live Now from Fox. This news broke a little bit earlier in the day, but we wanted to bring it to you here on Live Now from Fox. And I wanted to give you a live look at the White House right now, as we did learn a little bit earlier today. The District of Columbia is sued to stop President Trump's deployment of national...
I just don't understand this shit. Suing him over what? Doing exactly what he's allowed to do?
National Guard troops during his law enforcement intervention in
Tommy,
Washington.
my man,
with the city's
thank you.
top legal officials saying the surge of troops amounts to a forced military occupation. Brian Schwab, he's the district's elected attorney general, said in the federal lawsuit that the deployment, which now involves more than 1,000 troops, is an illegal use of the military for domestic law enforcement.
Uh-oh. Brother Glaire's calling me out, saying, Mike, your poll is too narrow. All right, what should have been the options? You let me know, Glaire, in the chat. What option 1, 2, and 3 or 4, whatever. I wanted to get a general consensus of what you guys thought. Should trans people be allowed to own firearms? 44% so far out of 25 votes have voted yes, and then 56% of you guys have said no so far. So that's very interesting.
Enforcement. Let's share that post with you here on your screen right now as you are taking a look there from Attorney General Schwab there. President Trump has already said he plans to send the National Guard into Chicago and Baltimore.
Hell yeah, we got Moto on the Facebook
opposition
side.
In those Democrat-led cities. And the White House said deploying the Guard to protect federal assets and assist law enforcement is within President Trump's authority as president. Now, I did want to read you quickly here what you are seeing on your screen, saying...
Papa Penguin, is this the invite for me? Is this where you're inviting me right now? That's what's happening, right? No? Damn it.
From Schwab, we are suing to block the unlawful deployment of National Guard troops to D.C. Armed soldiers should not be policing American citizens on American soil. The forced military occupation of the District of Columbia violates our local autonomy and basic freedoms. It must end. Members of the D.C. National Guard have had their orders extended through December. That's according to a Guard official. And while that does...
Wait, hold on. America Uncensored's up in the building? Or did he get... he might have gotten a gifted membership. That's probably what ended up happening. But if he's in here, good to see you.
Not necessarily mean all those troops will serve that long. It is a strong indication that the role will not wind down anytime soon. And here's some of that footage that we have gotten here over the past several days and weeks. A federal judge...
That's the point of the question, Claire. That's the point of the question. That's why I posed the question. I know a lot of people on the right is right now kind of like, haha, like, which I look at this whole thing with the trans gun ownership thing as a big troll. What Trump did is actually kind of smart in the regards of not what the actual breach of the Second Amendment. That's not what is going to happen, though, is now the left is forced to defend the Second Amendment. He's a fucking dude. He is an awesome troll sometimes, bro. So that's one of the topics I wanted to talk about later.
California ruled on Tuesday that President Trump's deployment of National Guard troops to Los Angeles after protests over immigration raids in June was illegal. It does not directly apply to Washington, where the president has more control over the Guard than in states. Several GOP-led states have added National Guard troops to the ranks of those patrolling the streets and neighborhoods of the nation's capital. Schwab's filing contends that the deployment also violates the Home Rule Act, signed by President Richard Nixon back in 1973, and wrongly asserts federal control over units from other states. This lawsuit of note here. This is the.
What's up, Joker? My man, great to see you. Hopefully it's been a minute. Hopefully you're doing well. And happy Friday. And Blair says, yes, I agree. He's making the left defend guns. Yes, exactly, bro. Exactly.
Second from Schwab, whose office is separate from Washington's federal U.S. attorney, a presidential appointee, against the Trump administration. Since Trump asserted control over the city's police department and sent in the Guard, those actions.
Yep, and that's very true as well, right there. Not only a suicide rate, but if you also look at the mass shootings, school shootings, church shootings, all these things have boiled down to a lot. Like a lot. I think it's like the 192nd trans ordeal, whatever. I may be saying, pulling that stat out of my ass, but I seem to remember he was like the 192nd fucking trans or whatever shooter. But nonetheless, yes, it's obviously an issue, but now we're going into an issue of the breach of the Second Amendment, right? Now, I do agree. I do, however, agree that honestly, personally, if you are a mental case, okay, you're fucking mental, and you have an issue, yeah, I don't think you should be able to own a firearm. That's me, you know what I mean? But I will I will always side on the actual Constitution, the Second Amendment, right? And until there's some change, which there's always these amendments that are added and all this bullshit, right? But nonetheless, I would hope that the Second Amendment doesn't get breached in any case.
Have been with protests from some residents. President Trump has said the operation is necessary to combat crime in the district, and Mayor Muriel Bowser, who's a Democrat, has pointed to a steep drop in offenses such as carjacking since this all began. Violent crime has...
Which we do know about all of that, okay? So nonetheless, we got D.C. that's suing the Trump administration over the National Guard. Big fucking whoop. We saw that shit coming, and it's been happening nonstop with Trump. Anything that he does seems like these fucking rogue judges just can't help themselves. They got to get involved. Oh, you can't do that. Yeah, the fuck I can. I can do that. All right, we're going to move into at least 16 dead in Portugal's streetcar crash. I guess there was an update on this, a super small update. We talked about this, broke the news yesterday, but let's go ahead and see what they have in this segment for us.
Thanks for being with us here on Live Now from Fox. I'm your host, Christina Evans. We do have to continue on with our coverage of today's top stories and live events, and this is one that we brought to you as breaking news on
Brother Steve Easy, good morning.
The air just about 24 hours ago. I want to take you out to this live vantage point that we have there in Lisbon, Portugal. Heartbreaking updates are continuing to happen. As you can see, those emergency response crews are still on the scene there behind the police tape, now investigating and cleaning up after this.
No, I definitely agree. If you're trans, you definitely have a mental issue. That's for damn sure. I agree with that.
Deadly streetcar crash. So what we do know, if you're just now joining us here on Live Now and you missed this as we brought it to you as breaking news, the derailment of a streetcar that's a popular tourist attraction there in Portugal's capital killed 16 people and injured at least 21 others, all according to those emergency services. We do know at this time that at least half of those victims were also foreigners. Officials called this accident one of Lisbon's worst tragedies.
It's on the federal document, and a lot of people lie during the process of, I forget what the actual form is called. It's like called an actual name, like a 3-letter name or whatever. But nonetheless, the federal paperwork, they lie on, a lot of the times. And so the whole thing about this kid buying this gun legally is actually not true because he lied on Form 4. There it is. He lied on that form. So, no, he actually didn't get his gun legally, by the way.
In recent memory. And ultimately, a little bit more into what we know, according to the Associated Press, that officials say that this accident happened there in downtown Lisbon.
That's so funny. Yeah, get some ban assault streetcars, ban spoons, ban airplanes, ban cars, ban it all.
They say that the derailment was an accident, but are saying that those investigations are still underway.
4473. That's actually what I was looking for right there. That right there. 4473. Thank you. I was just having a hard time.
Quote, the city needs answers. Lisbon's Civil Protection Agency said earlier on today that the death toll had risen to 17, but then later corrected that number to 16, saying that there was a lapse because of the duplication of available information. Witnesses, though, told local media.
Got you. That's right.
They are in the city. That the streetcar appeared out of control as it careened down a hill around 6 p.m. local time there during the evening rush hour. One witness said that the streetcar toppled onto a man who was standing on the sidewalk. And so still at this hour there.
Good morning, GEG. So I guess, man, this has been a big ordeal. Not only are 16 dead from this whole ordeal, but I seem to remember there was a huge amount of others that were also injured. Like a total of 30 some odd people got injured with that too, which is unfortunate. Nonetheless, we're going to move on into, I guess, Alligator Alcatraz now. Closure reversed on appeal. It's been blocked by some sort of judge. So let's go ahead and bring this up and see what they're talking about.
Possible federal immigration operation that's going to be happening there in the city. So earlier today, Pritzker did say that he's prepared to take President Trump to court if the White House follows through on those threats to send the National Guard troops to Chicago. Again, he says that this is all he...
So what's up, Brother Hardwire? Good morning, kind sir. And happy Friday. Happy Friday to everybody.
Official confirmation of this, but he has heard that the Guard could be fully assembled in Chicago by tomorrow and begin those operations in the city as early...
Got him.
As Saturday morning. Of course, we'll continue to follow this story here on Live Now from Fox as we get more updates. Also, though,
so I guess Chicago should be looking at some National Guard showing up today.
I put this up on your screen. This is from the Associated Press, still talking about some of this as it has to do with the usage of the National Guard. We do know that the Associated Press tweeting out that President Trump suggested yesterday that New Orleans could be his next target for deploying the National Guard to fight crime, potentially expanding the number of cities around our nation where he may be sending some of these federal law enforcement officers. And so that's something that we'll continue to track here on Live Now from Fox. In the meantime, though, I want to continue on with our top stories that we're following. This information, though, just coming into our newsroom has to do with Florida. Alligator Alcatraz, of course, that's one of those very popular and things that we've been talking about as it pertains to a federal appeals court. Now talking about the ICE operations that have been happening here in the...
Oh my God, dude. This shit is just brutal.
Bruh.
These fucking judges, man.
Country. I want to put this up on the screen as well here. Take a look at this. This is some video that we have there of the facility.
Brother TVT up in the building as well, up there from Canada. Great to see you, by the way.
But ultimately, what we are now hearing from some of those officials, including from the Associated Press, is that an appellate panel has now stopped the order to wind down operations at the Immigration Detention Center that has been dubbed Alligator Alcatraz there in the Florida Everglades. And so, of course, we've been following this very...
You know, I think I saw that, Gary. I think I saw that on social media a couple days ago. I think I specifically that in Louisiana.
Closely, but ultimately they are going to put on hold a lower court's judge's order to wind down those operations. The 3-judge panel in Atlanta decided by a 2-to-1 vote to stay the federal judge's order pending
2-to-1 vote.
The outcome of an appeal, saying that it was in the public interest. Ultimately, it was U.S. District Judge Kathleen Williams there in Miami issuing a preliminary injunction last month, ordering those operations at the facility to be wound down by the end of October.
Wow.
With detainees transferred to other facilities and equipment and fencing removed. Williams' decision was issued in response to a lawsuit that was brought on by Friends of the Everglades.
What's up, Dragon Classy? Good morning to you and happy Friday as well.
Center for Biological Diversity there as well, who accused the state and federal defendants of not following federal law requiring an environmental review for the detention center in the middle of those wetlands. Republican Governor Ron DeSantis' administration in late June, of course, raced to build this facility there on an isolated airstrip that was surrounded by wetlands to aid President Trump's effort to deport the people in the U.S. illegally. The governor said that the location in the rugged and remote Everglades was meant as a deterrent against escape, much like the island prison in California that Republicans named it after. The state and federal government defendants have since appealed Williams' ruling, asking that it be put on hold. The state of Florida said in court papers this week that it planned to resume accepting detainees at the facility if the state was granted. The federal government also claims that it isn't responsible for the detention center since it hasn't spent a cent to build or operate that facility, even though Florida is seeking some federal grant money in order to fund a portion of it.
Okay, so they haven't received a single dollar from federal monies. So hence why they are not. That's a weird reason.
Florida ultimately claims that the environmental impact statement required by federal law does not.
I would think that would be better. I think it would be better if the feds didn't have to fund it, right?
Apply to the states. But this is the big headline, putting it back up there on your screen via the Associated Press, that the appellate panel stopping the order to wind down the operations at the Immigration Detention Center dubbed Alligator Alcatraz in the Florida Everglades. This was put on hold there, that judge's decision. We have also since heard from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis saying that the mission continues at Alligator Alcatraz. The media was wrong. The leftist judge has.
Yeah, I'm not really sure if that gets some. I would assume either Florida is funding it or it's private entities that are willing to fund it. Maybe they have kind of like the whole ballroom that Trump is doing, the expansion over there at the White House. Once we all found out that this humongous expansion, this $200 million expansion to build this 90,000 square foot ballroom is being donated, the money is being donated from a private entity. No one's paying for it, not the taxpayer. As soon as we found that out, we're like, dude, that's a win. That's a win. So yeah, it's very important where the money comes from on everything. Follow the money.
Has been overturned. Florida will keep leading the way. And so if there's any other updates that come in here on Live Now from Fox, we'll certainly bring it to you. Also, this response that we have there from DHS
you too,
saying
Dragon
huge
Classy.
victory for Alligator Alcatraz. Today's order is a win for the American people. The rule of law and common sense. This lawsuit was never about the environmental impacts, turning a developed airport into a detention facility. It has and will always be about open border activists and judges trying to keep law enforcement from removing dangerous criminal aliens from our communities.
Which I agree. We have a lot of these, not only judges, but we have a lot of people in power of politics that sit here and defend illegal immigrants. Illegal. So they're defending crime, which is absolutely insane, actually. We got Bill Castle as well over there on the West Coast, over there in Washington State. Good morning, kind sir. Great to see you. Hopefully you're enjoying your Friday morning so far. Not sure I'm happy with yet another way for people to, quote, donate money to politicians. Oh, that's a very good point, by the way. That is an interesting point that you just made right there. Absolutely. All right, let's go ahead and move on into the next here. So we have this segment called Terrorist Cartels. The U.S. targets South American gangs. So let's go ahead and bring up this for you guys, and we'll show you guys what the hell we're talking about. All right, here we go.
My name is Josh Breslow, and I'm here for the next several hours to bring you all of your top stories and live events from across the country and across the world. I do want to start with...
That's right, Brother Fester is also in Washington State. We have a handful of people that watch from Washington State. It's awesome, man. Shout out.
The story that we've been following over the past several hours here, as the U.S. is now designated two Ecuadorian gangs as foreign terrorist organizations as the Trump administration's crackdown on cartels does continue. While speaking alongside leaders in Ecuador, Secretary of State Marco Rubio explained this move will allow the U.S. to eliminate members. Now, the U.S. can also take action against their properties and banking accounts in the U.S., as well as people with ties to that criminal organization. You can see this post here from Rubio a bit earlier on today as he shook hands with the president there in Ecuador. Here is what he had to say.
Today, we have designated as terrorist organizations two groups that operate here in Ecuadorian territory. One is Los Lobos, and the other is Los Choneros. We've designated them as foreign.
Shit.
Oh shit! Oh shit!
Has designated them as foreign terrorist groups.
Terrorist organizations, and that brings with it all sorts of options for the United States to work in conjunction with the government of Ecuador in the future to stamp these groups out. We're ready to support in this, what is, frankly, it's a war. It's a war on killers. It's a war on terrorists. These are not narco traffickers. These are narco terrorists who terrorize the countries they operate in. Our relationship with Ecuador will not simply be based on...
He definitely has some big fucking ears. Some Dumbo ears. That's for damn sure.
Security.
Right.
It will not simply be based on the fight against narco-terrorism. We also want to amplify. We want to grow an already existing and vibrant economic relationship.
That was Marco Rubio there. Now, his announcement came just days after a U.S. military strike against Tren de Aragua in the southern Caribbean. That's where this video is from. The U.S. government says it targeted a Venezuelan drug-running ship crewed by members of a gang, which was intended for the U.S. Now, this video again shows the strike, which we're told killed 11 suspected drug traffickers. I want to discuss...
You know, it's funny because I watched that clip now 100 times, you know what I mean? And every time I'm like, dude, I can't figure out how they have 11 people in that fucking little boat. It looked like 4 people. But whatever. Nonetheless, I guess 11 people were...
All of this a little bit further here, so let's bring in Nick DeMauro, the Chief Executive Officer of LEAD, that is Law Enforcement Against Drugs and Violence, also a former New Jersey police officer and detective. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
Hey, thank you. Thank you very much, Josh. I really appreciate it. And
So this guy is Law Enforcement Against Drugs and Violence. Interesting. I don't know what the fuck that is, but
yeah, I really appreciate
some, I guess, nonprofit or something. I don't know.
United States of America trying to help us be safe here in America.
And I did want to ask you here, what are some of the maybe broader implications of naming these Ecuadorian gangs as terrorist organizations? What exactly comes of that?
Well, it opens up doors for different ways of dealing with them, and not just confiscating finances and resources and addressing it with the military. And basically just puts us in a situation to more aggressively deal with these situations like Los Lobos and Los Charneros.
Do you believe that these...
I would assume so, Papa Penguin. I would assume that that would be the case, right? I would assume yes.
Designations are maybe an effective tool for dismantling the international drug trafficking operations, because we heard from Rubio. He spoke a bit earlier, and you heard a little bit of what he had to say there, but he essentially said that is what it's going to do. So in your opinion and your expertise, why will it do that, or why won't it?
Oh, it will. Absolutely. I think it's fantastic that they're doing it. They're not ignoring the situation. They have to aggressively deal with these they are terrorist organizations. And
I agree with you. I agree with you, Charles.
It's the same thing like, sending the National Guard into high-risk areas to help local law enforcement. We need to intensify our efforts to make this country safe. And this is beyond, it's out-of-the-box thinking that I think is necessary.
What about the freezing of assets, finances there from those who are either with a terrorist organization or potentially connected in some way? That was discussed as well by Secretary Rubio. What does that do when you're talking about a terrorist organization?
Hey, you're hitting them where it hurts. Let's be honest. They're here to make money, right? They're not just here to hurt people like they're doing. They're here to make money. It's a business. And
right. And the way it hurts is you take away the money.
Wherever we can shut down their business, I think we should have every right to do that. It's a sad world we're living in now, Josh.
And what I want to do is show some of that video again that we were looking at just a bit earlier. And that was...
All right, let's go ahead and see if we can see the 11 people on this boat then.
Was in regards to that strike that was conducted on Tren de Aragua, according to the U.S. And we do have that video. Let's pop it up for you right here on your screen. It was provided by President Trump. What do you make of...
It looks like...
this?
4 people. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then all the loot back here. It's not like there's a downstairs hole where they can go down underneath. And maybe they are. Maybe, who knows? Maybe there's a board right over the very bottom. Maybe there's something in the lazarette. I don't know. But nonetheless, there's like 4 people on this deck.
What is your perspective on using military strikes like that one as a tool for drug enforcement? Again, you're watching it right there on your screen.
Well, let's look at how many people, those 11 terrorists in our country could reach thousands and hundreds of thousands of people in this country. And I think it's the war on. It's about time it's being fought like a war, like it should be.
Does the use of military force maybe set some kind of new precedent in this war on drugs, or is it maybe a continuation of the past?
Well, I forgot what the number of people it said that, whatever the report said regarding how many people lives could have been killed by that fentanyl that was in that boat, or whatever the case is. Like, it could kill something absurd. I can't remember what it was, but it was something like 30 million people or something ridiculous. I have no idea.
Tactics that we've seen, but just under a new label.
Yeah,
Well,
me neither, Aaron. I saw like four, maybe five people, but nonetheless, it is what it is. Good morning, kind sir. Happy Friday morning to you.
I think that I think that they're being more creative. They're thinking out of the box, and we've done a good job over the years. The DEA is a very prestigious organization in our country, and I'm very proud to have worked with them very closely, and also the FBI and now with Homeland Security. But I think we need to make sure that all the boxes are checked off in this situation.
A last question for you here. How do you think that all of this as a whole, when you look at the strikes on different vessels, like what we saw there with Tren de Aragua, but also the deeming of these other gangs as terrorist organizations, also providing money?
Yeah, they named two different organizations that really haven't been highlighted in the media. So it's kind of interesting, and that's a great question that Josh just asked.
To Ecuador to help in this fight against drugs. How does all of that impact the drug situation, the trade here in the U.S.?
Well, supply and demand is an obvious thing. We work on.
Well, yeah, I mean, supply and demand, and the demand for drugs here in America is the highest in the world. You know what I mean? We are the biggest consumers of drinking, like booze. We are the biggest consumers in fucking not only drugs as street drugs, but also prescription drugs. I mean, we're just the biggest consumers of degeneracy ever.
With LEAD, we try to educate people at a young age on making good decisions to make the right choices. Unfortunately, there are...
Briarwolf, my man, good morning, kind sir. Great to see you, by the way. And yeah, if we did do that, though, Steve, I agree with the thinking process there, but then would we actually be able to hold those people accountable for that long and house them in prisons or jails or whatever the case is? Do we even have the infrastructure to be able to hold that many people for that long? I don't even think we have that. We already have an issue as it is, right? But Briarwolf, always appreciate you hanging out with us. Hopefully you're enjoying your Friday morning so
people
far.
Out there that do not make the right choices, and we have to address that angle too.
All right. Nick DeMauro, thank you so much for taking...
Really, Germany, during the 20s and 30s, were they very, like, were these people also big drug users or something like that? I didn't know that, by the way. I have no idea about that. I really don't know their culture like that. Real quick, we're going to do a little PSA before we get into the next story, which is Iran, and then we have Chicago. Then the whole thing regarding the Transformers and the gun rights and stuff like that, as well as DOJ, with that whole ordeal. We're going to get into that here in just a second, but first, y'all must obey.
Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Donate. Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Donate. Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Donate some freaking...
Shit, I had no idea about that, Claire. I really didn't know that. German soldiers in World War II were meth heads. Interesting, bro. Very, very interesting. All right, let's go ahead and get into Iran, and we are following the story regarding their uranium stockpiles prior to the Israeli strikes. I don't know if there's going to be anything coming out about their current uranium stockpiles, but this was into regards of previous to the 12-day war.
Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox. It is 6:32 on the East Coast and 3:32 on the West Coast. I'm Josh Breslow, and I'll be with you for the next several hours to bring you all of your top...
Holy shit. Then Fester comes in on the YouTube side. He already donated on Cash App, bro. Oh, my God, dude. Thank you so much for that. He sends in $10 to say, got hypnotized to donate. I got him. He obeyed. I very much appreciate that. Oh, shit. Thank you for making it rain, bro. Seriously, bro. Thank you for that. Goes a very long way, man. Let's see. Grid says German soldiers were issued amphetamines, so they fought harder. Yeah, I think I did hear something about that, but I didn't know it was to the level of like pure drug. I mean, it's just, yeah, you can just fed some shit just to go crazy, I guess, right? Have no fear, get the job done kind of thing. All right, time for Iran. Let's go ahead and bring this up and do this.
Stories and live events from across the country and across the world. Do want to take you out to an international story that we are following.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. It is very true. So it is not only that, I actually have the thing. I actually sent it to my family. Let me go ahead and pull this up. Yep, here it is. Let me go ahead and just show you guys what I see. And this came out of Team Trump, right? So there it is. President Trump officially expands no tax on tips to online creators. And yes, that includes super chats. That includes all sorts of shit. So anyways, appreciate you guys for looking out for me on
right
that
now
shit.
As a confidential report by the United Nations nuclear watchdog circulated to member states and obtained by the Associated Press shows Iran increased its stockpile of uranium enriched to near weapons-grade levels before Israel launched its military attack back in June. The report by the International Atomic Energy Agency said that as of June 13th, Iran had about 972 pounds of uranium that was enriched up to 60%, up 71 pounds.
Shit, real quick, Steve. I'll call it a tip as long as I am not getting taxed on it. I'll call it whatever the fuck you want to call it. You know what I mean? Shit. Getting crazy out here. But that is a very valid point, by the way. And real quick, Bill Castle over there says, just liked and shared on my Facebook. Man, I really appreciate that, kind sir. Thank you for that. And yes, I have a tip for women. Yeah, no, I heard that.
Since the last report 1 month earlier. That material is a short technical step away from weapons grade levels of 90%. And the IAEA says about 93 pounds of 60% enriched uranium is theoretically enough to produce one atomic bomb if enriched to 90%. Again, you can see that information here from.
So the exact number was like, they had like 60 pounds or something like that of uranium prior to the 12-day. And they did that in 1 month. They added like, I don't know, 60 or 70 pounds more of, enriched uranium. Now, they claim with that amount that they did have, they calculated that they could have made 10 nuclear bombs basically during that time. So now they don't have that stockpile. It's very interesting.
Is theoretically enough to produce one atomic bomb if enriched to 90%. Again, you can.
Oh, okay. Hold on. 10 nuclear warheads or one 90% weapons grade nuke or something like that. Let me get the number again.
90% and the 60% of military attack back in June. The report by the International Atomic Energy Agency said that as of June 13th, Iran had about 972 pounds of uranium.
That's the entire amount, 972 pounds, what they had. They added like 60 or 70 pounds in 1 month.
Uranium that was enriched up to 60%, up 71 pounds since the last report 1 month earlier. That material is a short technical step away from weapons grade levels of 90%. And the IAEA says about 93 pounds of 60% enriched uranium is theoretically enough to produce one atomic bomb.
Okay, well, that's interesting that the numbers have been 10 the entire time. But now that they're reporting they could have made one good nuke, essentially. Which, I mean, I don't know the amounts that are needed and the levels. Now, I do know what you need for weapons grade uranium. You need like, 90% or whatever higher. But nonetheless, I don't know how many pounds of enriched uranium that equates to. I have no idea what the equation there is.
If enriched to 90%. Again, you can see that information here from the Associated Press on your
That's
screen.
right, TVT.
A lot to discuss about really what this means. So I do want to bring in Andrea Stricker, the Deputy Director of the Foundation for Defense of Democracy's Non-Proliferation and Biodefense Program.
Oh, shit.
She's also a research fellow there. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here and explain exactly what all of this means.
Well, thanks for having me, Josh.
Of course. And first off, I want to kind of go back to basics. We have numbers here. We're talking uranium enriched to 60%, uranium enriched to 90%. Can you break all of that down in simple terms as to exactly what it means?
Sure. So
Yeah, no, I don't think that he definitely would leak that information. And if that information came out, it went to the UN. But the UN has basically an obligation to protect Iran, correct, right? They're a part of the UN. Well, I look at this whole thing as Iran and the UN are always going to lie for the betterment of their country. They're always going to. That's just the way I look at it, personally, But anyways.
Enriching uranium is essentially increasing the concentration of the uranium part that you do want, which is uranium-235, relative to the other part, which is U-238, in order to sustain a chain reaction. And a country enriches to a certain purity level depending on what they are trying to do with the fuel. So if you're going to fuel a reactor, you want uranium enriched between 3 and 20% to make the fuel rods. Iran was going to 60%, which is highly enriched uranium, and there was no civil use for it, and that certainly raised questions. And then once you're at 90%, as you described, you're at atomic weapons grade. And Iran was skirting right under this Western red line of 90%.
Brother Frank, we'll see you on the flip side. Hopefully you enjoyed the rest of your Friday, day and your weekend as well.
90% without going all the way over, but essentially stockpiling the 60% material, which put them days away from being able to make the weapons grade material.
And this report,
yeah, real quick. So Pablo puts out the IAEA hates the small hats. If they're saying enough for one, and the small hats are saying 8 to 10, odds are high is it was enough for multiple. Yeah, no, I heard that, and I do agree with that for damn sure.
Was obtained by the Associated Press, and it was actually a report that was sent out to the member states here, so it was not supposed to be seen by the public. But
wow, so 33 to 123 pounds of enriched uranium per boom boom. And is that enriched uranium? Like, that wouldn't be considered, it would have to be 33 pounds or 123 pounds to 123 pounds of 90% enriched uranium, though, right? Not 60%.
Anything in that report that maybe stood out to you, is that what we expected, or is there anything unusual in that report?
Right. I had the opportunity to review the pair of IAEA reports, and I think what stood out most is how much the situation has changed since the 12-day war in June, the U.S. and Israeli strikes. Iran essentially doesn't have a pathway to nuclear weapons, whereas President Trump had said that they were around a month or two away back in June. I think a couple of aspects in the report that are troubling. The IAEA confirms that it has had no access to Iranian nuclear sites except for one of the nuclear power plants in an effort brokered by the Russians. And so they're really relying on satellite imagery and open source information, just like the rest of us, to know what's going on and whether those sites have been destroyed. Whereas you would have inspectors living in Iran and accessing those sites every few days, even they're no longer in the country and able to inspect. And then also they don't know where this missing highly enriched uranium is.
Oh, I see. 33 pounds at 90% or 123 pounds at 60%. Wow. Now that is very fucking interesting, Steve Posey. Wow. Thank you for that stat, bro.
That 60% material.
Very interesting.
And Iran refuses to disclose it. They're actually saying that they want a special arrangement in the future with the IAEA. And that's not legally acceptable under IAEA safeguards. And both of these actually put Iran in violation of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. And we could see some action by IAEA member states when they meet in Vienna next week.
And what we're looking at is some of the video that came in from several months ago as those strikes, the 12-day war, was officially underway. I did want to ask, at this point, do we have a clear...
They got him. Shit.
Or maybe realistic understanding of how much of Iran's nuclear program was actually set back during these strikes here, that 12-day war? Or is that still kind of up in the air? Because as you talked about, Iran isn't exactly speaking with the IAEA and providing information.
Right. And now they're really relying on intelligence agencies, the U.S. and Israeli intelligence agencies, to provide that monitoring. And in the long term, that's likely not going to be sufficient. And there's concern, I think, that Iran will eventually crack down on some of these assets, and that the U.S. and Israel could lose their capabilities or miss something. And that really puts the U.S. and Israel in the position of having to take additional military strikes in the future if Iran is to reconstitute any of those capabilities. Now, luckily, I think that the weapons program, the pathway to nuclear weapons, has been set back for at least 2 years, barring any outside help.
Yeah, and that's all kind of speculation, though. Who knows? Who actually fucking knows? Whatever. Nonetheless, we're going to move into Chicago. We have a quick segment here. Chicago ICE bust expected ahead of Mexican Independence Day celebrations. well, of course. I think would go the same thing for Cinco de Mayo. You go for all this shit. But anyways, nonetheless, let's go ahead and hear what they've got to say about this.
Welcome back here on Live Now.
Chicago's just all fucking uptight right now. It's hilarious.
Fox is Thursday, September 4th. Thank you so much for being with us here on Live Now from Fox. My name is Josh Breslow. Do want to take you out to this live look over Chicago at this hour as we get to a story that we have been following very closely, and that is the city there that is now being targeted by those immigration officials. We know that preparations, according to Governor J.
She was, right before the show, she was actually drinking out of her fountain down here. I don't know where she went. She's probably sleeping right now. But yeah. But speaking of, make sure you guys hit that like button. Helps the show immensely, and it's free to do so. I very much appreciate your laborious work on hitting that like button.
Are being made as different tips are being provided to the public, as there are going to be several events taking place over the next several days. I do want to bring in Casey Cronus over at Fox 32 Chicago. She joins us now live with much more on that. Casey, thank you so much for being here with me. As I mentioned here, a lot of preps underway.
That's right, Josh. And every September, Mexican Independence Day celebrations here in Chicago and surrounding suburbs are huge. They draw massive crowds. We're talking thousands of people who host caravans across the city, parades, and other events. Now, this typically takes place next weekend.
By the way, because we have two more stories after this, we're going to go a little bit past our normal time today because I definitely want to get to both of those stories as well. So we may be going for maybe an hour and 20 minutes today rather than an hour specifically, but nonetheless.
Be the weekend of the 13th and 14th, but these celebrations last several days. Now this year it feels different though. This excitement that is typically felt across the city and suburbs has turned into apprehension, with a lot of unknown here as to when the ICE operations will ramp up and when National Guard members could be on the ground. So this afternoon, the Latino Leadership Council held a press conference at Daly Plaza downtown to share their message. They are showing a united front ahead of those festivities, saying that their heritage shouldn't be interrupted. And together, they are calling on residents to demonstrate their strength by continuing to celebrate, but by doing so responsibly and peacefully. Officials who spoke are calling President Trump's plans to ramp up ICE operations and bring in the National Guard an instigation.
Listen, Steve, make sure at least you get your lawn mowed first, stuff like that. Then have it all.
Tactic. Take a listen.
We will remain calm.
Get your landscaping done.
We will protect one another, and we will bring both our Mexican and our American flags and carry them with pride and peace as a reminder of our heritage.
They are already training for riots. What riots? The riots that they want to instigate.
This fucking guy. Let's hear.
The riots that they want to perpetuate in the city of Chicago. Do not take the bait.
Despite that message, though, there has already been some cancellations. El Grito Fest, which takes place each summer in Grant Park, that includes music, food, and dancing, that has been postponed. Organizers announcing that today they need to cancel the fest. They haven't announced whether it will actually take place another time this fall. For now, just saying that they cannot risk putting community members in harm's way and do not want anyone to become collateral damage.
And Casey, I did want to ask you, because there's been a lot of discussion about the areas that could potentially house these ICE agents, these immigration agents, as this enforcement gets underway. What can you tell me about that so far and what we know?
The answer to this, by the way, Papa Penguin, is you leave all big booty Latinas here, you know what I mean? And you allow them to be able to make the tacos and burritos and stuff like that. And I guess I will be sexist this time and say, well, fuck the dudes. Get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? The big booty Latinas can stay. They're peaceful unless they're fucking in your household with a chancla.
Yeah, just today the Pentagon has approved the Great Lakes Naval Base. That's up north about 40 minutes from the city. They have approved that to house ICE officers and National Guard members if they do, in fact, come to Chicago here in the coming days or weeks. That is according to the Washington Post. Now, if the president sends more forces to Chicago, that could be where they are housed. That, of course, could change as things develop.
All right. Casey, thank you so much for taking...
I heard that, Grid. I totally understand. And I actually made a viral clip about that whole thing that you're speaking on on Instagram, and it definitely went viral. So, all right, we're going into the next story here, but before we do have a PSA for you.
Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Donate. Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Donate. Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Donate some freaking.
Hey, listen, Charles, even though she is a fucking total bitch, all right? She totally is. Everyone fucking hates AOC. But the one thing, though, I'd pipe the shit out of that. She is fine, all right? Hey, I'm just speaking facts, all right? Nonetheless, we got Rob's neighbor coming in saying it's super late. We'll hit the replay, y'all. Hey, hopefully you're enjoying your morning. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, by the way. All right, let's go ahead and move on into the next ordeal here. How to prevent mass violence in the wake of Minnesota school shooting. We're not going to play this whole thing because it's a little lengthy, because we still have another story after this. But nonetheless, we're going to go ahead and get into it a little bit.
Some of this video, you've probably seen it a lot, as it's been just over a week.
We have seen this very video. We actually saw this happening live. We saw this happening live in the moment. I was reporting, and someone in the chat, I forget exactly, it may have been Get Some or Steve Posey. I can't remember exactly who, but they brought it up that there was, or it may have been Gary. I can't remember. But nonetheless, I got notified in the chat, and we pulled it up. And this was the scene we were seeing live.
Since a shooter opened fire on children praying at a Catholic school over in Minneapolis, killing 2 young students ages 8 and 10 and wounding 18 other people. Vice President J.D. Vance visited with the families of the victims just yesterday, saying one child still remains in critical condition after that attack.
I would just say take the concerns of these parents seriously. I think all of us.
Listen, she can't talk properly when she's got fucking you in her mouth. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. You can't hear her listening to all that shit. What that pretty mouth do, though?
Want these school shootings to happen less frequently. Hopefully there's some steps that we can take to make that happen. One of the ways that I'm going to try to honor these parents and the children that they lost is by being a better dad and hugging my kids tight tonight and making sure that they know that their dad loves them. Because there are 2 families who are not going to get that opportunity ever again. And if you do have kids, if you're lucky enough to have a son or a daughter, make sure that they know that they love you. Make sure that you hug your kids tight.
And again, this is some of the video back from August 27th as all of this did happen.
What's up, Jack? Hopefully you're enjoying the morning.
Aerial footage provided by our Fox 9 Minneapolis team. The attack has served as another reminder to law enforcement and school districts across the country as they look for ways to keep students, teachers, and staff safe in the classroom. 1,000 miles away from the shooting site in Cascade County, Montana, Sheriff Jesse Slaughter has been working hard to do just that. Sheriff Slaughter joining us now live to discuss that. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
Hey, thanks, Josh. Honored to be here.
And I did want to start off by asking you, when you hear about a situation like what played out there, what happened, a horrible tragedy at Annunciation Catholic School there in Minneapolis a little over a week.
Wow, no way. I did not see that. Grid says, did you see Tennessee made it mandatory that all schools in Tennessee teach gun safety in every grade? No exceptions. Parents cannot opt out. Wow. So not only... So there it is. That's what I was about to ask right there. So it's a law. It's a state law. Holy fuck, dude. So that goes for public schools now. I mean, like, that's fantastic. For instance, one of the main things I wanted to run on down here in Alabama was to be able to provide a security, an armed security guard or whatever the case is, for private schools. Now, public schools is a different topic. That's a whole different thing. But that's something that I would want to be able to do eventually, is have everything where, for instance, where it'd be a state law. But that is very interesting regarding the teachings of firearms and gun safety in school. I think it's very, if we have it, it's our right here as Americans to be able to own these things. We should know how to fucking use those things, right? So anyways, that's very interesting. Grid says, my son's private school has a skeet field on campus. Wow, dude. Like, see, this is totally not any type of shit that I ever grew up with. I grew up okay, for instance, we had like surf class and shit. Like, we'd go teach the young ones how to go fucking surf in high school. That's what we used to do. It was all sorts. We even had mountain days, ski days, had all sorts of shit. Yeah, crazy. But I guess everything's where you grow up and where you're at in the world, right?
A week ago, what does that tell you about school safety and what you need to be doing there? Does it resonate?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Get some shit. We definitely out here roll tide, baby.
Oh shit! With you and how?
Yeah, absolutely. We're not doing enough. We're not even doing close enough. You know, government has a couple of primary functions. And number one is public safety. Number two, I'd say, would be infrastructure, for example.
Yeah, that was actually one of the topics there, Glare.
And when we see these things happen over and over again across our country, and government doesn't actually step up and do what it actually needs to do to solve this.
What's up, Biker Babe? Good morning to you. Hopefully you're enjoying your Friday. You know, so far, it's definitely been enjoyable on our end.
Problem. It angers me. I'm super passionate about kids. I've spent my entire career, over 25 years in law enforcement, and my focus has always been on protecting children. And I respect Vice President Vance's statement and his opinion, but the reality of it is this. These answers are very simple. And we have to harden our schools. We have to harden them by security. We have to harden them by using good technology. We have to harden them by having better communications.
Here's what I say. If you guys want to get serious about school safety, listen, that's cool. I respect everything that homeboy's saying, whatever. When it comes to safety, like this shit, I was just speaking on it. Having an armed security guard, someone that can handle a threat right then and there. Let me just explain something real quick for everybody. We protect everything we give a fuck about with guns. Everything that we give a fuck about. Money, anything that's valuable, money, buildings, politicians, and people. But when it comes to our kids, fuck them, right? Fuck them. Just, I guess they're not important enough for us to protect, which is insane. It's insane. But I'll digress. We're going to go into the next story today. DOJ exploring ways to prohibit transgender Americans from gun ownership. So this will be definitely interesting. Let me go ahead and bring this up for you guys, and this will be our last story of the morning. We want to bring you. Make sure you guys also stick around for the raid right after this video. We close out quickly, and then we're out. So make sure you guys stick around for the raid on whoever's live.
This update as the Justice Department is considering ways to prevent transgender people from buying guns, according to multiple reports. The news comes 1 week after the deadly school shooting in Minneapolis. The suspect in that shooting was transgender. Justice Department officials are reportedly considering a range of options, but banning an entire group of Americans from purchasing a gun could be a difficult to implement or even illegal. To help us understand what's possible and where we're going to be now joined by constitutional law expert Robert McWhirter. And Robert, let's start out right now what you thought about this news.
Well, it's a little shocking. And actually, any gun owner should be very afraid, and the National Rifle Association should be up in arms about this proposal. Look, if you're going to say that a diagnosis of gender dysmorphia, which is part of the foundation of transgender, is a basis to take away guns, well, why not somebody who's clinically depressed? Do they all get their guns taken away? What about somebody who just has a neuroses about, I don't know, whatever, and all of a sudden you're making a justification to take away their Second Amendment right to bear arms? And this is the thinnest of bases which to do it. Transgender people are usually 4 times more likely to be victims of crimes rather than perpetrators of crimes. And the people who have committed mass shootings have been overwhelmingly heterosexual men, who are called cisgender, but let's just say heterosexual men. So to say that you're going to, kind of go after transgender people, frankly, I just think this is an attempt to create a narrative about the
You be good out there, brother Papa. We'll see you on the flip side,
school
my
shooting
man.
and the tragedy that occurred with the kids at mass, and to try to take this focus as how this has something to do with the culture wars, other than the fact that we don't have gun laws that keep the hands.
Man, get some. That is probably the smartest thing I I really appreciate that. That is a very, very good. I'm gonna note that down.
Guns out of the hands of
Thank
people
you.
are dangerous.
And Robert, I mean, just how would this even work for like gun owners in the stores? I mean, how would they be able to ask someone, hey, are you transgender?
Well, that is a very good question. Because a lot of transgenders, I mean, you can't tell. I mean, some I suppose you can tell, but by looking at people. And then are you going to now ask for somebody's psychological profile? I mean, maybe if that's what you want as a basis for gun control, that you cannot buy a firearm unless you are deemed to be psychologically fit, then fine. But that's something that the National Rifle Association should be totally up in arms about. If we have a psychological test before you can own a firearm, I don't think that.
Yeah, I forget the exact number, and I said this earlier in the show, Grid. I forget what it was. I believe this guy is like the 192nd trans fucking person to do this type of ordeal, mass shooting on like children or school shootings, stuff like that. Yeah, a lot of them, especially in recent history, have been trans people, for damn sure. Now, not only in my opinion, but I totally fucking believe that if you're trans, you definitely have a mental issue. You definitely have a mental issue. Now, here's the thing. I think that trans should be deemed as a mental health issue. And then when trans people lie on the federal document to be able to get their fucking gun legally, they lied because they're trans. Right? So the way that I would do it, instead of doing it with this kind of oral ordeal, I think the right should end up deeming that trans people is a mental health issue. They are mentally unstable. So once that is now the thing, now you cannot buy a firearm as a trans person. Because if you did, you lied on the fucking federal document.
They would be very happy about it. And how else are you going to tell whether somebody is psychologically fit and whether they're transgender or not?
Yeah, that's so true. And what else, too, Robert? What about other groups? I mean, we're talking about, what about veterans that suffer from PTSD? I mean, those are things you got to consider as well.
Well, absolutely. And I will say, there is a history of this country of excluding a specific group of people. And it comes from the region of the country that has the longest history of gun control. And frankly, surprisingly, that is the Deep South, which banned all black people from owning firearms, whether they.
This guy is retarded. Stupid. Seriously, bro. He has no idea what he's talking about.
Where slaves or not. Free black people in the South could not own firearms. And that extended well past the Civil War, well through Jim Crow, etc. And, that's one of the bases of why the United States Supreme Court decided in the Heller decision that there is an individual right to bear arms because of that racist past, excluding an entire group of people in America from the right to possess a firearm.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. You got to love how these lefties, they always try to correlate the trans people and their fight with the exact same fight as black people. They correlate the same. They always fall back on those two things. They go back and forth between. I mean, honestly, I don't know why black people hate trans people so much because, dude, they're the biggest fucking advocates for each other. You know what I mean? I'm just keeping it fucking 100,000 real with you.
So, I don't see how this is all that different when you've just decided to grab one group of Americans and say they should be excluded.
And it seems like, when we see these tragedies play out in really any part of the country, but you just have to change the name of the city.
Shit.
Why are you gay?
Or the town there. That's how unfortunate it is sometimes with these shootings. But, we kind of want to consider just the deep impacts this could make on people that are just maybe feeling a little bit different.
Yeah, I think so. Look, again, I'm going to go back to what I said before. This is, I think, an attempt. When these shootings happen, the script is pretty clear. It's from the point of the people who don't believe there should be any gun control. They figure out a way to minimize it, talk about thoughts and prayers, and kind of delay it out. So let's talk about transgender now rather than core problems.
I absolutely agree with this, Steve. Nonviolent felons should absolutely have all rights restored. I agree.
And then, of course, the people who want more gun control have their positions as well on it. Look, if you focus on the Second Amendment, there is certainly a First Amendment right to bear arms, but like all rights in America.
Wait, did you just say First Amendment right?
All rights in America, they are subject to limitations. Even the First Amendment is subject to limitations. And that limitation is called gun control. We do have various forms of gun control. And the question is where those boundaries should be. And I think you can make arguments that certain people
hold on
control have their positions as well on it. Look, if you focus on the Second Amendment, there is certainly a First Amendment right to bear arms, but like all
First Amendment right to bear arms. What does that mean? This fucking guy is insane.
Rights in America, they are subject to limitations.
Constitutional law attorney.
Even the First Amendment is subject to limitations. And that limitation is called gun control. We do have various forms of gun control. And the question is where those boundaries should be. And I think you can make arguments that certain people with certain psychological problems, go into a judge and say this person is a danger to himself and others. You could create a mechanism for that without offending the Second Amendment. But to just willy-nilly say something with no basis in science or in law, that one group should be excluded just because you want to change the narrative and not talk about anything that would cause greater gun control, I think that's cynical, and that's exactly what's going on here.
Now, what about when we talk about gun control and the efforts around it? It seems like, okay, if you are a bad person and you want to do harm, you are going to get that gun one way or another. That is an argument a lot of times with these types.
Of course, and Mike is right here.
Types of situations where if you don't have the means, but you are going to find one anyway on the black market, what do you have?
Which is extremely way too fucking easy to be able to do, by the way.
To say about that?
Well, there's a certain point to that. I mean, we have more guns in America than we have people. And there's
it's easier for me to get a gun illegally than to get a gun legally, which is not good.
People with a great amount of guns. I do, however, think that a lot of this can be solved by waiting periods, certain reasonable gun control. And let's be clear, there is always some kind of gun control. For instance, if you're a violent felon coming out of prison, you don't have the right to bear arms. That is gun control. We don't have a right to buy an Abrams tank, assuming we have, $22 million spare, not counting outfitting costs. We don't have the right to do that in America. At the time of the founding, you did. You could buy the most sophisticated military hardware around. So we do have some gun control. And the question is, should that be extended? And I think there are reasonable arguments to be made that waiting periods save lives. They put things, but like you said, you're somebody who's determined and somebody who's crazy and wants to do this, they're probably eventually going to get a gun. But that doesn't mean we can't do everything we can to stop it.
Yeah, so true. Robert, thanks so much for joining us on Live
This has been absolutely fucking brutal. I'm going to need a lot more left-handed tobacco and plenty of alcohol to mask up that emotional damage to that. I now have
emotional damage.
Guys, I can't thank you guys enough for the donations, your guys' laborious work on hitting that like button, whether it was in the beginning of the show or the very end. I appreciate you guys more than you guys even understand, man. Real quick, we're going to be making sure that we've got the raid set up and Homeboy is still live. We're going to send you guys on over to, Chatting with Stacks is live. So we're going to go ahead and send you guys over to Chatting with Stacks. Make sure you guys go over to Chatting with Stacks, his live area. We have a 5-part series of his interview with me. Each piece is like 10 minutes. It was a fantastic conversation. He covered my entire story and really did a great job. He did my story justice. So make sure you guys check that out. Check it out on his channel, but watch his live first. Let him know that I'm sending you guys. But with that being said, everybody, thank you guys so much. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning for members only for you guys. We always have a members only Saturday morning, 10 a.m. CST, 11 a.m. Eastern. And we get to be quite a bit uncensored over there. We're not streaming to the mass public. So anyways, with that being said, much love, honor, respect, everybody. God bless everyone. We'll see you guys very soon. Stay safe.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges, a host with a fire burning.